Okay, so in this task, as you can see in the title, you will be comparing your opinion with a peer's. The purpose is such that, let me get rid of that, you will demonstrate your ability to think critically about 2 points of view in a manner that is friendly, respectful, and civilized. Skills to apply: college level reading, basic analytical skills, and the ability to use text based evidence to adequately support one or more claims of a comparison and contrast. Notice that when I say text based evidence to adequately support a claim of comparison and contrast, this means that I do not want just your mere opinion or feelings about something. You are going to be pointing to some text that you recorded and some text that your peer recorded, and based on the evidence that you pull from each of those texts from the mandatory writing assignment, you will offer an interpretation that is based on the text that is read. It will be your interpretation, but that's an interpretation based on evidence in a text is different than just giving your mere opinion out of your own head without any evidence from a source. Your sources will be your response to item 2 in the mandatory writing assignment and your peer's response to item 2 in the mandatory writing assignment. Also, when it comes to thinking critically, I start to point to what that means here, and it says skills to apply. Notice that it says basic analytical skills. So analytical skills, and this was touched on in the argument module, when we're doing analysis, we're just taking things apart, seeing what the structure is of something, what the elements are, to make sense of it. This is not an assignment where you're evaluating your peer, and I'll say more about this when we get to the content expectations on page 2. Evaluation. So you should be pretty used to how I grade by now. Let's go ahead and iterate a few things. While this might look like a mere discussion board, the way it's set up and the way that you will interact with this assignment online, it is not a mere discussion board. You must use good writing skills. Avoid sentence fragments and run-ons. Do your best. Watch out for comma splices as well. Use basic writing conventions and mechanics. There should be a good internal flow from one point to the next, because you will be constructing at least one paragraph, if not two. Make use of transitional phrases, introductory clauses, etc. I do highlight these in the examples that I give you. See rubric associated with other writing tasks or elements of task, or by clicking on the submission link for this task. I don't know that you're actually going to see a rubric. I know that you can see a rubric when I have tasks that I post as assignments, or what Blackboard calls an assignment. This task is posted as what Blackboard calls a discussion board, and I don't know if you'll be able to see the rubric, but you have seen the rubrics before, and you can just go through your gradebook and look for a rubric icon to see the rubric and how I will be grading you. Remind yourself of that. So now let's talk about the pathway. All right, so you will click on Submit Your Results from Week 10, Task 2, from within the Task 2 folder for Week 10. So this is, of course, we're inside the Week 10 folder, bundle folder, and then right now we're inside the Task 2 content folder for the bundle folder, Week 10. So when I tell you to go to Submit Your Results, that's this link right here. It's on the same page as the instructions and the video links and the examples for this task. Okay, it says the link takes you to what I call a dialectic board, but what most others call a discussion board. You will see a bunch of threads. I created a thread with your name on it. You will find the thread with your name on it as your response to the second item in the mandatory writing assignment from earlier in the semester. Locate your response and read it. Reread it. Read the responses of your peers, at least 5, if not all. All right, so that means that you will click down here, and then you will see your response here. If you want to, you can put things in alphabetical order. I just clicked on thread, at least by first name. So I have you by first name, Ashley's. Make sure you access your response. So there's an Ashley D and an Ashley H. If you happen to see that I have copied and pasted a response that is not yours, just email me or text me during business hours. You can email me anytime, but text me during business hours and I'll fix that ASAP. You see that I am the author of all these threads because I went into your mandatory writing assignments and created a thread for each of you. So then what you're going to want to do, of course, is reread your own, and then you're going to want to read your peers' responses. Okay, so step 2 of the pathway on page 1. Select a peer response to compare with your own per the following instructions. Select a peer who has yet to get a response of any kind. The peer you choose cannot be the same person who replies to your thread. Check to make sure that whomever you choose has not already responded to you first. For example, imagine that you see Jill responded to your thread. You cannot in turn respond to her thread to get this task done. You will have to find another peer. Anyone but Jill. You post your analysis by clicking on reply from within your peer's thread. If you don't have time to type an immediate response, but you really want to respond to a particular peer, you really like their content and think you can do a lot of good, stuff with it, you can claim or put a hold on your peer called dibs on your peer's response by typing the following: claimed, please find another peer to whom you'll respond. You don't have to put it in quotation marks, but put all of this. Now, notice that I said that you cannot choose the person who's responded to you. You have to find somebody who doesn't have a response. This means you also have to find somebody that doesn't have a full response. This also means that this applies not only to somebody already responding to you, but if somebody has already claimed you without giving the full response yet, they've just called dibs, you can't respond to that person either. Why is this? I've come up with a strategy to make sure that everyone gets a response. In the past, I've had situations where people end up responding to each other and in a reciprocal way, and then people get left out for whatever reason. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at an example of this. So let's say, you've read through these responses and you're like, you know what? I really like this response right here. I remember reading it so far. That's been my favorite one. And so I think I'm going to go ahead and call dibs. I'm going to respond to this one right now. Okay, so notice what you need to make sure that you do is scroll all the way down until you see the OK button. You see all this to make sure that the person to whom you're responding does not have a full response, or to make sure that this person has not been claimed. So if you were looking at this response right here, right now, to respond to, you would not be able to respond to it, because somebody has already claimed the response. You'd have to go and find another response.